All right, hello and welcome to today's episode where we're going to talk about identifying what you are really afraid of and really what to do about it. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Codde and I'm the founder of Restored Minds and the creator of the AAA Response. And if you're struggling with OCD and anxiety and you're really feeling stuck in that loop, then I'd really encourage you to take advantage of the resources that I've linked right beneath in the notes. And you can also head over to Restored Minds, and we have several ways for you to get started because this is something that you can break out of. And so I really encourage you to take advantage of those resources. Also, if you benefit from this show, please help us out real quick by liking and subscribing. It takes 5 seconds, and it also just helps the algorithm to help get this to more people that need it. And if you're joining us via podcast, please do us a favor and leave us a nice review over on iTunes and Spotify, as it also really helps the show. So with all that said, let's go ahead and dive in. So what are you really afraid of? Right? Just sit with that question for kind of a second here. Because what most likely is going to happen inside your internal experience is your mind's going to come up with something, right? Your mind's going to start chattering about something. And because of that, right, like you're going to assume that what the mind says is actually the thing you're afraid of. And what the mind is usually going to say is something outside of you. So that could be, not having enough money. It could be health problems, right? It could be environmental problems. It could be social problems. It could be, that political group, right? It could be, a million things. And the mind is ultimately going to try to justify that. And then your life is going to come preoccupied with the idea of solving that issue. And once you feel you've resolved that issue, then you will, quote unquote, feel safe. And this is the trap right here, right? This is the reason people get stuck, is because what most people don't realize is what they think they are afraid of is actually nothing more than the mind coming up with the justification of the feeling of fear and the energy of fear in the body. And what they're actually afraid of is confronting the actual feeling, the sensation, right? The energy of fear. Therefore, their unwillingness to confront it, to feel it, to experience it, paradoxically keeps them stuck in it, because the energy of fear creates fearful thoughts, and the emotion, right, just essentially, the mind just creates thought after thought after thought after thought after thought, leaving the person to take the thought at face value and then go pursue controlling the outside world to try to neutralize the feeling of fear. And then the fear just bounces to a new theme and a new theme and a new theme and a new theme. And once you begin to really understand that fear is primarily a illusionary, it's not real. And what I mean by that is obviously the feeling of fear is real. It's a very real energy and feeling in your body. But when you come up with the types and the things and the content that people are afraid of, this is one of the whole reasons that in TBC, part of our program involves group, right? Because what's so interesting is when you hear people talk about their own fears in a group setting, you can very easily dismantle why they shouldn't spend their time being afraid of that when you don't have that energy attached to it, right? When someone is terrified at the idea of leaving their house, let's say, what we would call agoraphobia. Someone who's not agoraphobic is like, well, that doesn't make any sense, and very logically. But to the person has that fear, they really do feel that energy there. But the threat itself of leaving the house is an illusion. It's not real. Going outside of your house is, not as dangerous as they perceive it to be. Same thing with people that fear flying on a plane or driving or, certain foods, right? Going to public bathrooms, going in social situations, having a panic attack. What you come to realize is that all that's actually happening is that person is really stuck in the energy or the frequency, if you will, of fear. And the fear is what distorts that idea to them, whatever it is they're afraid of. And that's why talking about it in group, especially after I've done, this, and this is coming from someone who's been stuck in fear energy for long periods of time, right? Most of my childhood and adolescence, I'd say, right? And what you come to realize is you start to really question the idea is there such thing as a valid fear? Now, is there valid danger in the world? Sure. All right, like when you get, and the thing is from a real danger perspective, it's a very different feeling than the typical fear and anxiety that most people live in, because it's generally very clear. When you sense a clear and present danger, your intuition takes over and is always very clear on what you need to do, whether it's to fight, flight, or how to navigate the situation, right? And with anxiety, though, and the futuristic fears, when most people are caught in really these loops of fear, after doing this for many years and running groups and hearing people talk about every kind of fear there is, and also my own experiences, I've often pondered this question, is there such thing as a valid reason to actually be afraid? Does it really make sense? Because if you turn on the news will convince you the world's ending, right? And for some reason or another, and they've done that for as long as the news has been around, and one of the reasons is because it stirs up that energy in you, right? And this is kind of the point, is the question you always need to come back to is, what are you really afraid of? And for most of us, what it is as simple as this, is we're afraid to feel the literal sensations of fear. And so we spend time in our head disassociating from it or projecting it out onto the world. That's, really what most of us do with fear. We just project it onto, things outside of us. And with fear, one of the very interesting things about it is the moment you shift and understand fear is only within me, is literally only in here. That's the only place fear exists. And so when you say, what am I afraid of? It's almost never anything outside of you. And then your work becomes, well, let me go in here. And not any of the concepts or any of the things you're talking about in mind of, I need to face this or this. No. It's literally, for most of us, it's literally the unwillingness to feel the sensations, the energy of fear itself. That's why, in one of the opening part of my training in taking back control, right, our 12-week program, I quote, I believe it was Roosevelt, right, back when he said, the only thing to fear is fear itself. And the reason is because when we get lost in fear and we project it onto the world, we are lost because we're never looking at the actual problem. We're literally lost, right? Chasing this loop, chasing this certainty, this level of money, this house, name it, right? But we're chasing, all based on our unwillingness to feel the energy in our body. The paradox of fear, and this is why the whole idea of, what Jung said with, or it might have been Rogers, I forget, but what you resist persists, right? the idea of when you resist fear and are unwilling to feel it, and you project it, and you go about all these other different ways of coping and escaping and distracting, suppressing, repressing, all that stuff, it just persists. And we stay stuck in these problems. And we perceive that the world is scary and that, people are scary. And it's just, we take all this stuff and put it out there and totally misperceive the entire world. Once you start looking within yourself and saying, okay, like, what am I actually afraid of? And a lot of times what it is really just being able to be with yourself and to feel what you're feeling and to really let go of the fear energy itself. And we obviously discuss this in depth in Taking Back Control. You begin to work in yourself at the correct way. See, most people, they're stuck not because they're not trying to get better. It's because they're trying the wrong things. They're working at the problem from a completely wrong perspective. Shifting to this perspective is what produces actual results for people. Because I've seen it time and again. And one of the benefits about being in group is that you begin to have the ability to honestly challenge your fears. See, most of the problem with going to a one-on-one coach or therapist, and now while there's obviously a lot of value in working with someone one-on-one, without doing any level of group, you have no ability to reflect your own fears and to look at other people's fears and question the idea of like, well, if that person's fear is completely unjustified and they shouldn't be spending hours and hours of their day fearing that, like, maybe I shouldn't be spending hours of my day fearing this. And to get to that point where you have to like actually look at your own mind and be like, is my mind really deceiving me? Because I'm stuck in this level of energy that I'm unwilling to feel. Then you can begin to work at it correctly, and that's really what most of breaking out of this OCD and anxiety loop is about. It's about re-understanding the problem as a whole, really understanding what the problem is and really understanding what to do with the real problem. Most people don't understand the problem correctly and are implementing the wrong tools to solve that problem. And that's why they don't get the results they're really looking for. You really want freedom. You really want to break out of this loop. You really want success. What it involves is first understanding the problem correctly, and then actually implementing the correct solutions for that problem. And by doing that, again, you can let go of fear. You can transgress fear. You can rise above fear into higher and higher levels. And you can really begin to look and see life through a totally different lens. And that's really what taking back control is about. That's what it means to recover. It doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means that you understand what to do with it, how to handle it, how to let it go, so that you're able to shift into higher levels of energy and live from those places. Places like acceptance, trust, love, right? Like these kind of places. And when you can bring that into your life is going to look totally different. It's not that your life is the problem itself. It's the energy that you're living is distorting you from really seeing it for what it is. That's why this work is so important. So that's, we'll tie up for today. That was a real kind of the main point of the message that I want to share today. So with that said, again, please check out the resources and the links. You can also head over to Restored in the links below. And then also you can head over to restoredminds.com. And again, I really hope this message has served you well. And I hope it gives you something to kind of think about and to work with for the week. And then, and when you're ready, obviously connect with us over at restoredminds.com. Thank you so much. And I wish you a great day. Hey there. So if you enjoyed that video, we've linked up a few more videos that we think you'd find helpful as well. And if you have found this helpful, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing. And if you're looking for help and guidance, please check out restoredminds.com as we have several options for you to get started. See you guys soon.